crazy. Time's flying.
For you, because you haven't been there the whole time.
Maddy Godsey had one of the most nerve-wracking episodes on 16 and Pregnant. She did her best to navigate through so many troubling situations, which were actually much worse behind the scenes. But what has Maddy been up to in the 10 years since she filmed with MTV? The truth about how she was able to overcome life's obstacles to get to where she is today is honestly insane, so let's get into it. When Maddy's story first premiered, she got an overwhelming amount of hate from viewers online. There were some supportive and encouraging comments, but the biggest reason that people criticized her for was seriously bizarre. Maddy's mom told her that she would have to find somewhere else to live by the time her daughter Aubrey was 1 month old. One of her options was to live with her baby daddy, Cody Jensen, and his family. Cody's parents even made her a really generous offer. If Maddy wanted to move in with them, Cody's parents offered to remodel their dining room into a nursery. But it was obvious that they wanted her to be in a relationship with their son, which he kept pushing for as well. Maddy hadn't even known Cody for a full day before she got pregnant, so she didn't know him or his parents very well. But it didn't take long for her to realize that she couldn't see herself with him. What she later revealed about Cody was absolutely crazy. It turns out that Cody's true colors had been exposed behind the scenes. He already had a baby on the way with another girl when he got Maddy pregnant, but he was also making unhealthy choices in other areas of his life. It was easy to see that Cody clearly wasn't interested in being a dad. He ended up questioning if Aubrey was his child, but wouldn't pay for a DNA test. In fact, he never paid for anything, except when it came for funding his illegal substance habit. But that wasn't all. Maddy claimed that she noticed that Cody had a terrible temper. He had reportedly told her that he had been unable to control his anger in the past and had experienced physical outbursts many times. At the time that Maddy's episode aired, many viewers thought she had been disrespectful to Cody and his family. They were in the process of preparing the nursery and had agreed to let her move in. But ultimately, Maddy decided to live with her dad instead. It makes sense why Maddy didn't feel comfortable or safe enough to move into Cody's family's home. They were essentially strangers to her. Not to mention, Cody barely ever reached out to her. But he and his family still thought she should be in a relationship with him anyway. After filming Wrapped, Cody didn't even try to be a part of Aubrey's life. Maddy tried to contact his parents at times, but they never returned her calls. She was basically alone since her dad was usually at work, so she had almost no help with taking care of Aubrey. Maddy knew that her dream of becoming a lawyer probably wouldn't come true anymore, but she still needed to support herself and her daughter somehow. Since Cody didn't help out or pay child support, she was in a seriously tough situation. Maddy couldn't afford to pay for daycare for Aubrey, but she needed to work. She was determined to figure out an option that would allow her to have her daughter with her while also making enough money. What she did next was unbelievable. Maddy decided to create her own childcare job and marketed her babysitting services in her community. She made sure that the families she worked with were okay with Aubrey being with her, and eventually she even had a consistent schedule. Maddy took care of the same group of kids for a while. She was able to make enough money to provide for Aubrey completely on her own, and they ended up moving into their own place. But even though Maddy could afford their basic necessities, she still wanted to be able to build an incredible future for Aubrey. Maddy was committed to giving her daughter the best childhood possible. She was already renting an apartment, but she wanted Aubrey to grow up in a nice house with a yard. Maddy was nowhere close enough to be able to afford a house, but she refused to give up. Aubrey turned 3 years old in October 2016, which meant she was old enough to go to preschool. Maddy finally had the availability to find a job that paid more than her babysitting gig. What happened next was honestly incredible. While Aubrey was at preschool during the day, Maddy was busy with not just one job but two. She worked as a front desk receptionist at a hotel, as well as a sales consultant at a furniture store. Maddy was saving as much of her income as she could so that she and Aubrey could have their own home someday. In the meantime, she still wanted to keep moving up in life. What she decided to do the following year was so extraordinary. Maddy was able to find a more spacious apartment in her price range, so she and Aubrey moved there in the beginning of 2017. She was still working and saving up for a house, but she was also extremely dedicated to being a hands-on mom. That summer, Maddy signed Aubrey up for soccer. She wasn't happy with sitting on the sidelines though, so she decided to become a coach for the little kids team. But what happened later that year was totally unexpected. In December, Maddy posted a shocking photo on her Instagram. Apparently, she and Aubrey had just been involved in in a terrifying car accident. Maddy revealed that another driver had gone through an intersection without stopping and then crashed into her vehicle. Thankfully, she and Aubrey weren't injured, but the accident was still so stressful because it created a massive setback. Maddy's SUV was so damaged it was no longer drivable. She needed to buy another car so that she could get to work and bring Aubrey to school. But instead of letting the unplanned purchase get her down, she used it as a way to motivate her to achieve more. Maddy decided to find work in a higher paying career field. She started working at Walgreens, where she was able to get on-the-job training to become a certified pharmacy tech. But that wasn't all. When Maddy wasn't working in the pharmacy or taking care of her daughter, she still had some free time on her hands. But instead of taking the opportunity to relax a little bit, she found a way to make more progress toward accomplishing her goals. What she did next was truly inspirational. Maddy started working as a roofing sales director at Conga Exterior Restoration. She was clearly driven to turn her dreams into a reality, but that wasn't the only factor in decision to get yet another job. She had chosen to work at that specific company for a seriously shocking reason. It turns out that Maddy had been dating a guy named Tony Miazio, who also worked at the roofing company. They had been seeing each other for nearly 6 months, which was actually pretty surprising. Maddy had briefly dated a couple of guys here and there, but she hadn't been in any serious relationship. She had always been more focused on her daughter and working. But how she handled her romance with Tony was honestly impressive. A lot of the moms from 16 and Pregnant have been criticized for introducing their boyfriends to their kids way too soon, but it seemed like Maddy was careful about that because she waited a while before Aubrey joined her in Tony's hangouts. And what happened after that was absolutely incredible. Maddy continued dating and working with Tony, although she kept most of the major details of their relationship off of social media. But over the next couple of years, it became clear that Tony was a great father figure for Aubrey. Even when Maddy and Tony went on vacations, Aubrey was always included. They seemed like a perfect little family, which is why the next step in their relationship made so much sense. In April 2020, Maddy made an exciting announcement on Instagram. Maddy's dream of owning a home had finally come true, and it looked like Tony had moved in as well. But the house update wasn't the only news she shared with her followers. Shockingly, she revealed that there would soon be a new addition to the family. Maddy decided to adopt a Labrador puppy. The puppy immediately became Aubrey's best friend, and a year later they adopted another Labrador. So now their hands are pretty full, but when they aren't going on walks with their dogs, they're usually hanging out with Maddy's family. Maddy admitted on Instagram a couple of years ago that she and her mom had grown so close they were basically best friends. She's seemingly equally as close with her sister's brother and dad, but last year there was another big update that made her family dynamic feel complete. On July 4th, 2022, Tony, Aubrey, Maddy, and the rest of her family attended a baseball game. That was nothing new for them because baseball is a huge part of Maddy's life as well as Tony's, but what happened during that game was incredibly unexpected. Tony proposed to Maddy at that game, which she was extremely excited about. Honestly, who could blame her? She had spent years focusing on working hard to provide for herself and her daughter, and finally the life and family she had always hoped to have was a reality. Over the last few months, Maddy and Tony have been searching for wedding venues. They just celebrated 6 years of being in a relationship together, and they still work together too. And judging by the lifestyle they appear to have, both of them are doing very well in their careers. But Maddy's top priority is still Aubrey, who recently turned 10 years old. They're pretty much inseparable, and Aubrey looks like a super happy kid. Everything has turned out unbelievably well for Maddy, which is definitely well deserved. In the 10 years since Maddy's episode aired, she's clearly proved a lot of people wrong. Cody hasn't been involved in Aubrey's life at all, but Maddy hasn't let his absence affect anything. She has successfully handled every challenge that's come her way, and her dedication has paid off in many ways. She's gone above and beyond to be the best mom possible for Aubrey, and hopefully their lives continue to be happy, healthy, and positive. But now that we've talked about what's been going on in Maddy's life since the camera stopped rolling, I want to know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on how hard Maddy has worked to provide for herself and Aubrey? What do you think about how drastically her life has changed compared to when she was on 16 and Pregnant? Let me know in the comments below.